Welcome, dear friends, to the Taviren, a Wheel of Time podcast hosted by three gentlemen for whom the very wheel itself bends around. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Bill, Rob, and Rich.
Hello, and welcome to an episode of the Taviren podcast, this week with a British guy.
And a not British guy. And not a third guy, unfortunately, again.
The third guy is always sleeping when we need him to. Yeah, I feel bad as well because last week was quite a meaty chapter, and you guys managed to compress it into because you had some minor technical issues. You managed to squeeze it into quite a small time period. And this week we've got an even smaller chapter, so I feel like this is going to be a very short episode.
How's every little thing? How's your life treating you?
Life's treating me well. I've got another child on the way.
Congratulations.
Which I'm sure they'll. Yep, I'm sure that'll really help all the podcast, extend the amount of podcasting time.
Yes. Well, if you can, have the baby, feed the baby, keep the microphone on, and just keep plugging away, right?
And go for it, yeah. But yeah, that won't be till December. So yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Even just the baby not being here, it still makes me a lot busier. So it'll come eventually.
Oh yeah, I've been there. There.
Well, how many have you got?
I've got two boys.
Two boys.
Yes, they're older now, so days of diapers and warming up bottles and all that's over for me.
Yeah, whereas I've got a little girl who's 2 very soon. So yeah, she needs to be weaned off the old nappies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, she's going to be a big sister, but she seems to be quite excited about it, so that's a good thing at least. But
welcome to Baby Talk with Bill and Rob.
Yeah, welcome to yes. So how would you raise a child in the Wheel of Time universe? I'd throw it at the SID, the Aes Sedai, and just be done with it.
Oh my god! Yes, magic. Just use magic. Take care of it.
Take this. Yeah, fire its poop away. Yes, so yeah, you guys discussed last week, as I said, the lovely chapter of Winter's Night, where we get the old Trolloc attack on Rand and the Dad Tam's farm, and old smart Narg, as we like to call him,
Narg.
The smartest of Nargs, Narg the smart Trolloc.
Yes,
Narg smart.
Well, the one bit about that chapter that I wish you were with us for was that, as of right now, we have a missing horse.
A missing horse? Nah, she's not missing. She knows exactly where she is.
She's smart. She's a smarty, that one. She probably knows exactly where to go.
Yeah, I don't care how smart Narg is. Bella is a lot smarter. She could smell the Trollocs coming, and she was out of there. She's like, no.
Well, it was funny because I'm reading the book. This is my third time reading the chapters, and I get to that part, and it's like, the sheep pen is eviscerated. There's sheep carcasses everywhere. Then he goes to the barn, and my first thought was like, Bella, no! There's no sign of a struggle. She's not there. No signs of any wrongdoing in the barn. So,
yep. Hopefully
she's a smart horse and knows where to go.
Yep, I'm a Bella super fan. So, Bella, stay safe wherever you are. Make your way through the Westwood. See if you can head back to the Two Rivers. Go to Emmonsfield, and make sure you're safe.
The Twitter handle that follows us is called Bella the Chosen One. I thought that might have been one of your bots.
No, not one of my bots. My bots have all been taken over by Russian bots, I'm afraid.
Controversy on the other website or on the other podcast. I mean.
But yeah, good old Bella. I'm glad she's safe. Yes. But yes, so
we are up to chapter 6.
We are up to chapter 6. Yes, the Westwood. Do we have any Wheel of Time news? What do you think?
No. I mean, from what I've been gathering, it's kind of hush-hush over at the Amazon Studios, and I think his name is Rafe, the main showrunner that they've hired. So, as I spoke with Rich last week, because of all the hush-hushness, it's created a lot of internet buzzes, potential
well, yes, because Brandon seems to really like the guy, Rafe.
That's right. Brandon gave that's one little bit of news. Brandon gave him a thumbs up.
Yep.
And the news we have is that Brandon also okayed the first 2 scripts, which is a good sign.
And I believe he also confirmed on a Reddit post recently that he had signed a no disclosure agreement, so he's not allowed to talk about certain things, which is also a very good sign because that's normally right, shut up.
Yes.
And Brandon's very, very famous for not being able to shut up at times.
Yeah, I love the fact that his website gives you a percentage of all of his projects. I love that. He's completely transparent, open doors. I love that.
Oh, well, there's because of his Cosmere universe is so vast. He actually there's this thing called the Words of Brandon.
Oh, boy.
And it's kind of like it started off with a thing where it's like if people sent off to his website to get a signed copy of one of the books, people could ask a question and then he would write it in the book and send it back.
That's awesome.
And that kind of started off the Words of Brandon. So he's famous for what's the line? It's Raffo, which is read and find out. So it's kind of like if you can't answer it without spoiling loads of stuff, he'll Raffo you. But it's also become a thing now where he literally gets trolled everywhere he goes by all the super fans of people who run podcasts, people who run the Coppermind website, and
17th Shard, and all
17th Shard, all of those guys. They all troll him now. All the interviews he does, and there's like a section at the end for Words of Brandon where people can ask him questions, and he'll give really cryptic answers about the Cosmere universe.
You know what would be best? Instead of he signs the book and answers it, well, what if he put the answer somewhere like page 712? Just randomly puts the answer somewhere in the margins of some random page.
So you have to
literally have to read and find out.
I suspect if people are asking detailed questions about the Cosmere, they're going to read that far anyway.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But anyway, back to Robert Jordan,
Robert Jordan,
the pre-Sanderson man.
Yes. So right now we're kind of at the aftermath of the Trolloc attack on the Althor farm.
Tam's kind of falling to pieces.
Tam, what has on the surface appears to be not a serious wound, is apparently affecting him worse than was to be thought. He's going in and out of what Rand is calling fever dreams. Mm-hmm. Rand has just put together a litter from the old cart that they had, and he is pulling him through the woods back to Emmons Field is the only thing that he could think to do. My first note here says Rand's struggle is very real. The cold, the fatigue, the pain in his shoulders from pulling the litter.
Because he's had to put the litter together out of nothing. He's worried about, because Tam mentioned to him that some Trollocs can hear a pinprick like miles away or whatever it was.
Yes.
And so he's worried about Trollocs hearing every single step and every crunch of the branch he makes as he pulls his poor old dad through on this litter.
Well, and that he's not going along the road. He's going off the roads because he doesn't want to attract attention. So
and he's worried about the wraith, isn't he?
Trouble. Yeah, and the fatigue. They were heading home for the night, so they already had a full day of activity, bringing the cider and brandy to the village and bringing it back. They were just about ready to settle down for the night. Then all gets ramped up again. So he's kind of working on pure adrenaline at this point.
Mm. Yes, and largely an uneventful chapter, apart from some of the random stuff that Tam just sort of seems to blurt out while they're being pulled along.
I mean, it's a lot of I guess not a lot of dialogue dump, but what I mentioned last week was people who've read this book series before will realize this is a lot of callbacks, while people who are reading this for the first time.
Yeah, this is a lot of callbacks stuff in book 12.
Yes.
I don't know if it is book 12. I'm just saying, it's just he's saying stuff which just sounds like absolute gibberish, and then you learn many books later that Robert Jordan had all this planned out.
Yeah, I got for Tam's dreams. Lots of information is given completely random. Something called a Vendosora that was apparently a sapling. Some faraway land called Cairhine. There was a long 500 years of peace. And then to cap it all off, Tam talks about the blood price for a Vendoladera, Lamon's Pride. All these, names and places and things are just, at this point, gibberish to Rand and the first-time reader.
Yeah, even to me as a third time reader, I'll be like, where are these places? It's just like I vaguely remember some of them. It's like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember the sapling. Oh, yeah, of course, I remember that. Drake Big War they talked about endlessly in book 9.
Yes.
And then it's just
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I remember all this stuff. And then he mentioned something which kind of like Rand again is just like, what the hell is Dad talking about? And then he eventually blurts something out which puts the fear of God into Rand.
Any child at that. But yes, what's that?
Well, I can't remember the exact wording, but he mentions to Rand, or he just blurts out something about finding a child,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it makes Rand think, "Am I his son? Did he find me?"
This is the passage I took for readings with Rob.
Ah,
It's
excellent.
not, as you mentioned, it's not a meaty chapter. So the one meaty bit that's there is what I utilized. Yeah, it's like Rand is complete focused adrenaline rush. Got to get my father to Evansfield, and he's just pulling through all the brush and the woods because you're off road, and he hears Tam, in a fevered pitch, allude to the fact that Rand may not be his blood relative, and he just like, what? Just crumbles down, falls down. He's like, that what are you talking about? Of course I'm your son. What do you mean? But then you get the whole story of, I was on, fighting on the mountain, fighting against these people where the men and the women fight, not just the women, but the apparently women in labor are in battle as well. And
How nuts is that?
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, why don't you go to your wife and ask her if she's ready for a wartime battle? See how she takes to that. But I know.
But yeah, that's what they used to do. That's what they used to do back in the day. They used to take their wives with them. Why not?
We're heading to war, honey. Yeah, the little one can fight along the way. It's okay. But yeah, the illusion is that he was battling someone who was maybe in labor. They have the woman has a child, and then Tam comments, "Oh, me and the wife always wanted to have a son." And then he says, "Rand is a good name," or something like that. I like that name, and then he goes back into unconsciousness. And Rand's like, oh, this is just too much. I can't. This has got to be just the Beaver's talking.
Yeah, he just kind of convinces himself, doesn't he? No, Beaver's talking. He's definitely my dad. I can't not be his son. This is crazy.
No, exactly. One other bit in this chapter is the fact, like I mentioned, Rand was not on the main road. He was off the road because he didn't want to attract attention, and it pays off. Halfway to town, he starts to hear the sound of marching feet in time, and he sees. Do you remember what he sees? He's Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Bill.
I can't remember what he sees.
A column of Trollocs led by our mysterious Black Rider.
Oh yeah. No, I was thinking that. I was suddenly thinking, I suddenly just had a thought from Lord of the Rings. So apologies for that.
No problem. But he sees 2 dozen of Trollocs just in line in 2 by 2 marching in time down the road, and then the mysterious Black Rider, which now he's going to piece together is maybe the Murdral, because as we know, Narg told him that Murdral won't speak you. And that was like, yes. Put sword down.
Narg smart.
So, Rand now is just petrified. Like, it's just getting worse and worse and worse as it progresses. Between the Trolloc attack, hearing of a Murdral, his father's injuries, his father's fever dreams, now seeing the whole column of Trollocs followed by being led by this Murdral. It's, one of the lines was what, nightmares roam free tonight, or something like that was one of the lines Jordan used.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's when they get back to the town, isn't it? So he eventually does sort of, manage to pull his dad through the litter, through the Westwood, and put him into Emmons Field. And it looks like they've had a pretty bad night as well.
Yeah, that may continue into the next chapter, Out of the Woods.
Oh,
but yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, out of the. We're in the woods. The next chapter is out of the woods.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I wasn't sure if that was still part of this chapter. I remember the chapter being really short and just being like, Am I already on the next chapter?
If we probably planned it, we might have doubled up this episode into 2 chapters.
Yeah, I think
but
we had
that's
we had a look through the length for some of these chapters, and there will be some chapters later on where we are going to double up. But we want to give you guys notice on that. If you are reading along with us, we're going to
Oh,
say
yeah,
okay, next week we're going to
absolutely.
do chapters 27, 28 together. Not that that's correct, but we will give you guys plenty of notice in future. But we kind of just going with our normal format. Last week said, oh yeah, we'll just do we'll just do the Westwood, and then it was just like, oh, this chapter's like 4 pages long.
Well, let me pose you the same question that I posed your counterpart. So you've undertaken 2 very large projects with RPG: The Golden Years and the Tavir End.
Yep.
Which will end first?
I think you did ask me that last time.
I apologize.
The next one, the one that ends first will be the Tavir End.
All 700 plus chapters.
All 700 plus chapters, yeah, because, well, reasonably it's going to be like a year until we finish the first book, I think. And then
That's a reasonable thing.
if you say that's roughly about 15, 16 years possibly with extras in there. Yeah, I definitely think Golden Years will take longer. It's 500 RPGs with stuff that I keep adding.
RPGs are not short games.
They are not, and me and Rich have, as we have proven, don't play them at a fast pace, Steve.
You play at the best pace that you can.
Yes, which sometimes is like I haven't played a game for almost 2 weeks.
Well, you're going to have midnight feedings coming up, so there's your perfect opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you have kids. But yeah, I mean, is that it for the chapter? Are we done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one other note I had in here, it says Rand has heard of Vendosora, but he never knew it as a sapling. He just knew it as I guess, theoretically, a big tree of life.
Yes, the big tree of life.
Yep, and that it was only owned by some entity known as the Green Man. We get our first mention of the Green Man here.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
So
I don't think I don't think the Green Man's ever mentioned again after this book either, is he? I always remember thinking that when I was reading these books. I was like, that thing was definitely just a plot point for the first book.
Well, yeah, I know the main point they want to make is that Rand has heard of the things Tam has been talking about in his fever pitch, but
as stories,
not as stories, but not as like the beginning of it. To Rand, the Tree of Life or Vendosora was always there, and it never really had a beginning.
I know. Yeah, Rand. It brings forth Rand's ignorance over his dad's past life.
Yes,
I think he knew because he knows that his dad at one point left the 2 rivers, but I don't think he knows quite the impact that Tam had on the world.
No one does at this
he
point.
he wasn't like a king or anything, but he went out and he definitely experienced a lot of stuff that's going to become apparent later on.
Yeah, well, one thing I literally just thought of this as I was talking to you. So Rand only knew the tree as a tree. He never knew that it could have a beginning, much like Jordan's openings to his books.
Yes.
There are many beginnings and endings. This wasn't the beginning, but it was a beginning.
But what we are getting here is the beginning to a lot of various different stories of lore.
Yes.
So I hope you're keeping up, people. Make a note of the Tree of Life. It becomes very important later on.
Yep, Jordan just kind of drops bits and pieces on you. I think Moiraine has exposition in a couple chapters coming up where she'll go through the history of Evans Field and 2 Rivers. The history that was almost forgotten.
Yes. So yeah,
that's
another
couple chapters. Yeah.
But yes. So what is our next chapter then?
Our next chapter is called Out of the Woods.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, Rand makes once you're in the woods, you gotta get out of the woods, right? So Rand does make it successfully back to Evans Field, but not.
But how
everything
will Tam make it?
Will Tam?
More importantly, will Bella make it?
Bella may have already made it.
Yes.
For all we know. Like I said, that's one very smart horse.
One very, very smart horse. Do we have to start a kill count in the next episode as well?
Oh,
I think a kill count's going to be impossible in this book.
We're going to get to certain scenes in the book where it's just basically wave of the hand and thousands of dead. So.
Like the one with the box. That's going to be ridiculous.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
The one with the box, the one at the end is going to be insane.
That does bring up something I can let you know. one of the conversations that I had with Rich regarding counters, first off, he sided with me on Tam's ignoring the weather in chapter 1.
Nah, you're both wrong.
Well, I'm sorry. Math never lies. Sorry, 2-1. Sorry, it counts. So I put it on there. Rich wanted to add 2 other counters. He wanted to add times Perrin acted stupid.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I don't think Perrin ever acts stupid.
I think maybe I can think of one, but
he's such a thoughtful. I wonder if he meant Matt. Matt's always doing dumb things, whereas Perrin's always quite thoughtful.
That's the thing. Perrin always tried to strive on not acting impulsive.
Well, let's do one. Let's do one for all 3 of the boys, shall we?
When they act stupid.
Yeah, when they do something really dumb. We'll just cross it off. Say, yeah, Rand is like dumb here.
Yeah, Rand. Even later in the books, Rand does things that I kind of. You sure about? I know you're all being massive, powerful, whatever thing, but
yeah, like the book and a half he spends on his own in the woods.
Yeah, he really. Another thing that Rich said to do or asked to do when and if we get all 3 of us together on the same pod is to kind of guesstimate the over-unders on all the different counters we have. Kind of guess how many we're going to hit by the end of each book or the series as a whole.
Yeah, well, yeah. Next time I'll say next time. First time we ever do a podcast with all 3 of us. We'll go through the list and we'll all have a good old guesstimate at what's going to happen.
So I'm pretty sure that our listener base thinks we're like some bad 80s sitcom where you're in the room and you say, "Oh, you want Rich? Hold on, I'll get Rich for you." And you run out, put on your Rich costume, then pop on out. "Hey, I'm Rich. Crap. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, you want Bill? Hold on, let me go get Bill for you." And run back into the room, put on your Bill costume, and run back out.
Hey, I'm Rich. Hey, Rich, how's it going? I'm all right.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Captain. Shoe shine, Mr. Rich.
I don't think people don't think you and Rich exist. I think they're both one and the same.
No, we've talked endlessly about the fact we have 2 giant podcasts that we do together. Yes. If you want to hear me and Rich actually talk to each other, go over to the RPG Golden Years podcast. A weekly podcast where we actually had our 1-year anniversary this week.
Yes, congrats on the 1 year.
Yeah, man, 1 year of every week getting an episode out. Not always on time, but I like this one.
Yeah, exactly like this one, which I will raise my hand and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm cause of the delay. So many apologies to our great fan base out there.
Cool. Okay. Well, I look forward to the next chapter.
So yes, it's gonna
well, I guess I'll have to see you back at the Wine Spring Inn at some point.
Yeah. Well, before we
you owe me a point.
Out, I do. I'm the tardy one. Just watch your
we need to toast my new child.
December, I told you. I'm December baby, so is my father, so it's a good month.
Good month.
It's a good month. I also wanted to do a quick mention, if you don't mind. I started a podcast unrelated to Wheel of Time. It's in Bill's realm. It's a video game podcast. I actually, my son, who is 12, Alex, and my nephew, who is 9, Anthony, are massive Nintendo fans, specifically Mario and anything Mario related. I know that my son is a big Mario RPG fan. Anthony loves the platformers. So I started a podcast with the 3 of us called Mario Talk with Mario Talk with Alex and Anthony, where I basically just sit the boys down and we go over games that Mario has appeared in chronological order, narrowing it down to North American releases and on Nintendo consoles. And I'll show them some videos, stuff they may know, stuff they may not know, and we've got our pilot out there. It's on iTunes. It's on Stitcher. It's on all the other places. It's called Mario Talk with Alex and Anthony. I'd love you guys to check it out. Boys were a little bit nervous for the pilot, but by the end of it, I think they started to open up. And just check it out.
I'm going to listen to it this week, I think.
Oh, great.
I need to squeeze it in there at some point.
I did have to do some corralling. There were some parts that kind of, at the time I recorded, that might not sound good. Then I listened it back. I'm like, oh, that works out perfectly. I just leave that right in there.
Yeah, remember, it will never sound good to you. It's amazing
know.
It's amazing the amount of editing glitches and stuff that I put together, and I hear it really loud and clear, and other people just don't hear it because you know it's there. Your brain looks out for it, but it's
Well,
amazing what the human ear overlooks.
yes. Well, my son was trying to, he was nervous and started what I thought was, acting out. But when I played it back, I'm like, oh no, this works perfectly. Never
Yeah,
mind, keep it in there. Good
yeah.
job,
Normally
son.
the stuff that I rant is the best stuff.
Yes.
Cool. Right. Well, I've got to run
Oh,
now.
hold
I've got to
on.
run, Rob.
We forgot readings with Rob.
Oh, okay. I'll put it in there. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, here is readings with Rob.
And now, the Taviren present to you Readings with Rob. After a time, Tam spoke up again.
Vendosora, it said it makes no seed, but they brought a cutting to Cairhine, a sapling, a royal gift of wonder for the king.
Though he sounded angry, he was barely loud enough for Rand to understand. Anyone who could hear him would be able to hear the lines scraping across the ground, too. Rand kept on, only half listening.
They never make peace, never. But they brought a sapling as a sign of peace. 500 years it grew. 500 years of peace with those who make no peace with strangers. Why did he cut it down? Why? Blood was the price for a Vendor Ladera. Blood the price for Lamin's pride.
He faded off into muttering once more. Tiredly, Rand wondered what fever dream Tam could be having now. A Vendosora, the tree of life, was supposed to have all sorts of miraculous qualities, but none of the stories mentioned any sapling, or any they. There was only the one, and that belonged to the Green Man. Only that morning he might have felt foolish at musing over the Green Man and the Tree of Life. They were only stories. Are they? Trollocs were just stories this morning. Maybe all the stories were real, as the news the peddlers and merchants brought. All the gleeman's tales, and all the stories told at night in front of the fireplace. Next, he might actually meet the Green Man, or an Ogier giant, or a wild, black-veiled Isleman. Tam was talking again, he realized, sometimes only murmuring, sometimes loud enough to understand. From time to time he stopped to pant for breath, then went on as if he thought he had been speaking the whole time.
Battles are always hot, even in the snow. Sweat heat, blood heat. Only death is cool. Slope of the mountain. Only place didn't stink of death. Had to get away from the smell of it. Sight of it. Heard a baby cry. The men fight alongside the women sometimes. But why had they let her come? I don't. Give birth there alone, before she died of her wounds. Covered the child with her cloak. But the wind, blown the cloak away. Child, blue with the cold, should have been dead too. Crying there, crying in the snow. I couldn't just leave a child, no child of our own. Always knew you wanted children. I knew you'd take it to your heart, Carrie. Yes, lass, Rand is a good name. A good name.
Suddenly Rand's legs lost the little strength they had. Stumbling, he fell to his knees. Tam moaned with the jolt, and the strip of blanket cut into Rand's shoulders. But he was not aware of it either. If a Trolloc had leaped up in front of him right then, he would have just stared at it. He looked over his shoulder at Tam, who had sunk back into a wordless murmurs. Fever dreams, he thought dully. Fevers always brought bad dreams, and this was a night for nightmares, even without the fever. You are my father, he said aloud, stretching back a hand to touch Tam. And I am... The fever was worse, much worse. That was Readings with Rob. If there's a passage in an upcoming chapter you wish to have read on the podcast, simply tweet us at TavirenPod with your request.
We will see you next week.
See you at the Wine Ring Inn. Take care, guys.
Yes. Take care, guys. Here's to new children, new beginnings, and a new barrel of cider.
Daddy daycare.
Daddy Daycare, Wheel of Time stuff.
Thank you for listening. If you want to continue the conversation, tap into the One Power and contact us on Twitter at TavirenPod. You can also contact Bill at Matunica and Rich at HailBlue1569. You can also reach Rob at his website, digging, D-I-G-G-I-N, diggingdeepsports.com. And, as always, we will see you at the Wine Spring Inn.
Here's to another great podcast, gentlemen. Cheers! Ah, damn it, Bill, not again! Brad, can you get another round of pints for me and the boys? Yes, again. No, Bill this time. Thank you, Brad, much appreciated. Now, where were we, men? Actually, I believe it's Rich's turn at the Stones table. What's that you say? No, I don't think old Sen will have that, Rich.
I'm Evan, and I sure enjoy me some podcasts. Wow, this podcast sure is enjoyable, but sometimes life has a little bit more pegged on for you than what you thought. Oh man, is that a missile? I'm okay? Thoughtscast, part of the We Can Make This Work Probably podcast network.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.